So, good morning and welcome to Wake Up Newport Chamber's monthly program here. I'm Alberto Sandoval, Senior Director of Community and Government Relations for UC Irvine. Although it's the first day of June gloom, keep going with May gray, is that what they call it? But it's still a wonderful day here in Orange County. So the supervisor is going to be here in 2 moments, but before that, why don't we hear from Steve Rosensky.
Good morning, everybody. Wake up, Newport. So she's not even here to thank her, but I'll thank her in advance. Katrina, if some of you are probably here to see, as he mentioned, Katie Porter. I found out, I think Memorial Day, that looked like she wasn't going to be able to make it because she had to be there for the vote last night. I think it did happen. Oh, here she comes. So, but I do want to thank Katrina, thank her for jumping in at the last second. Yeah, she's a trooper. She's got a great presentation. Actually, I'm supposed to see this same presentation at OCBC tomorrow morning at their Government Affairs Committee meeting. So we get the first look. But quickly, while she's getting a cup of coffee or some juice or water or whatever, I'll just quickly, I didn't make my list this morning. Robin Grant, City Council's with us this morning. Pierce Swan with the Irvine Ranch Water District's here this morning. Tara Finnegan, I thought I saw her come in. Is Tara back there? I remember this time I got her. I forgot last month. Our Assistant City Manager. And did I miss anybody? If you're important, raise your hand. Dorothy Larson, she's with the Library Foundation. Everybody raise their hand. You're all important, right? Come on up here, Katrina. I'm just going to, Alberto's got the introduction. You want to do the introduction? Katrina needs to be in South County at 9 o'clock. So that's, oh, you're good? Oh, great. Perfect. Oh, then I don't feel so bad anymore then.
Well, thank you, Supervisor, for joining us this morning. Well, now that I know that you've got a little time, I would have spent more time on your bio because it's quite impressive, but here we go. Katrina was elected to the Board of Supervisors in 2022 to represent the newly established District 5, which includes South County cities up through Newport Beach. This is her second term on the Board of Supervisors, where she previously served District 2. As County Supervisor, she remains committed to reducing homelessness among our most vulnerable populations, investing in sustainable infrastructure and climate resilience, protecting our beaches, parks, and open spaces, revitalizing the middle class through job creation and support for small businesses, improving access to county services, and ensuring safe neighborhoods. Katrina was previously elected to the position in a special election in March 2021 to represent the residents of coastal Orange County through Seal Beach, Los Alamitos, Newport Beach, the unincorporated area of Rossmore, where I live, and she helped get our street sweeping cleared up because on our streets in our neighborhood, both sides were swept the same day. So we had to move our cars out of the neighborhood, and it took her 6 months, but she got it done. Okay, sorry.
After 30 years.
Foley, a successful businesswoman, community leader, and attorney, became the city of Costa Mesa's first directly elected mayor in November 2018 and was reelected in 2020. She served on the city council for 14 years, including serving as mayor between 2016 and 17. Foley previously served on the Newport Mesa Unified School District Board of Trustees. A proud graduate of Head Start and a Pell Grant recipient, she received a bachelor's degree in English and Women's Studies from UCLA and a Juris Doctor from Seattle University. Please help me in welcoming Supervisor Foley.
Okay, thank you so much for that. It's great to be here as early as it is, and yes, we are filling in. Steve asked me, and I kind of, my team's like, oh, it's last minute. We don't have time to put together a program. We got all these other things. And I said, well, my reputation is that if someone asks, I say yes. So here we are. Okay, so am I doing the slides? Okay. Am I doing the slides, Stephanie? Oh, perfect. Okay. There we go. It's working. So I'm Katrina Foley, I'm your county supervisor, and this is the new district that I represent. As you can see, it is ginormous. It includes Costa Mesa, Newport, all the way down to San Clemente, all of the unincorporated area, all these wonderful communities, and I've really enjoyed getting to know about all the different communities, learning about all the amazing open space, parks, beaches, harbors. I mean, it is truly the fabulous 5th District. Okay, and then we all, as county supervisors, we're required to sit on a variety of boards and committees. The chairman for the particular year appoints us to committees and commissions, and then we, all 5 of us, sit on a variety of county boards. So I serve on the Orange County Fire Authority. Why do you care in Newport Beach? Because we're working on issues related to fire insurance. We're working on mitigation issues. It's very important that we have a representative from the 5th District on the Fire Authority Board because most of the 5th District is in the wildfire high-risk zone. I'm also the chair of the legislation committee for the county fire authority, and I'm on the capital improvement projects ad hoc committee. We have Orange County Transportation Authority. Many of you are familiar with the Transportation Authority. I sit on the legislative and communication committee, regional transportation planning committee, and the capital projects ad hoc committee. So Transportation Authority, all 5 county supervisors sit on that. We have meetings depending on the actual board meeting versus committee meetings every Monday. So every Monday I'm in a meeting at OCTA. And we're gonna talk about OCTA in the bus terminal here in a minute. I will say I drove by there on the way here and I saw all the encampments on the city sidewalks. And so I wanna help the city to do what we did in Costa Mesa, to be able to enforce your anti-camping ordinance, because that is really truly why that's happening. And we have a great shelter, we have resources at the county, and we don't need to have camping out on our sidewalks. Transportation Corridor Agency, I also was appointed to that, and my favorite committee for that agency is the Environmental Committee, and that impacts Newport quite a bit. We'll talk about that in a bit. So we sit on all these others. One of my favorite boards is the Library Board, because the Law Library Board, the Library Board also, but the Law Library Board, because, you know, many of you know, I have 26 years as an attorney, and so I miss hanging out with judges and lawyers, so I get to hang out with judges and lawyers and promote our law library. If you don't know about it, it's a great resource. It's free. They have everything in there. International law. I mean, even if you're in a big high-rise law firm, there's resources at the law library that you can take advantage of. And then we have advisory groups that are internal in my office that I really rely on community representatives to help me to plan initiatives, to respond to agenda items, and to participate in community activities. So we have our Climate Action Task Force. The County of Orange just received $1 million grant. We're working on building our climate action plan, and because this district is along the coast and we have 32 miles of coastline that I represent, it's very important to me to be involved in that activity. The Dana Point Harbor Oversight Committee, I've just started, and we're going to be making appointments this month. We'll get started for the first meeting in July. John Wayne Airport Advisory Committee. If you're on my John Wayne Internal Advisory Committee, please stand. I saw Sue. Is she still here? Did she leave? She must have stepped out. Okay, so Dennis, Sue. We also have Julie Johnson, David Wilson, and there's one other Dennis. Who's the other person that's... Jack Stramberg, there we go. And airport staff, and we meet once a month, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Veterans Housing and Homeless Advisory Committee, this is very important to me. I'm the granddaughter of veterans. My brother is an Army veteran. Veteran services in Orange County are critical. We have 290 veterans that are still homeless on our streets. To me, that's just unacceptable, and we should be able to find housing for 290 people. And so I work hard We passed an initiative that was initiated through my advisory team last year for veterans suicide prevention, and we're starting what is a unique program, peer-to-peer help, where isolated individuals who are veterans can get help from other peers, and they can, help them to improve their mental health and maybe get through some difficult times. And then I sit on the Ocean Institute Board of Directors. The songs is something that I'm just becoming acquainted to in terms of all the science, all the activities. So how many of you know what songs is? Raise your hand. Okay, good. So San Onofre, those big, huge towers out there. Well, we have been decommissioning that plant, and I am the co-chair with Supervisor Desmond from San Diego for the Spent Fuels Solutions Coalition. In 24 hours, I attended 4 songs meetings for 4 different groups that all work on this issue. It's a very important issue for us here in Orange County, and it's all about moving the spent fuel after it is decommissioned, after the plant is completely closed down and demolished, moving that spent fuel into another location off the coastline, off the earthquake fault. And so we are going to be announcing the Department of Energy has about $26 million that they are giving to communities to consider accepting the fuel and to invest in those communities. It's a long process, and it really will require basically burying the spent fuel deep into the earth in some kind of a very, very secure well, if you will, and that we've been being educated from Finland, Canada, Sweden on the work that they've done in this regard, and so there's a lot of good scientists working on this issue. Okay, so what do we do as a county? Many of you know the Board of Supervisors, the county CEO reports to us, and then we've got all these departments. You can't read this, but know that there's 18,000 employees at the County of Orange working for you in many departments, 22 to be exact, and we provide services from anything to, library, books, and operations, benefits for vulnerable families. Court system is staffed by our county employees. The jails, the animal care, harbors, the airport. We have a huge system, and we're at this point, we just received our draft budget, $9.2 billion system, which is the 6th largest economy in America and the 4th largest in the state of California. So we are very an economic driver, if you will, the County of Orange itself. Orange County Transportation Authority, our budget that we were just previewed on is $1.7 billion. The Orange County Fire Authority, we just were previewed on that budget, $575 million, and the total TCA is $280 million. Now, what I want you to know is that revenue is strong. Sales tax and property taxes are up. A lot of people in Newport have been selling their homes for some ridiculous amounts of money, $60 million, $15 million. And so property taxes across the board are up. And while we are not a body that is going to bring forward any new taxes on anyone, we don't have to, because the taxes being generated here in our community are extremely high. We are fortunate to have Fashion Island and South Coast Plaza in Orange County, and that is those are major generators of sales tax for not only Orange County, but the state of California. So the priorities we have for our 5th district, you heard a little bit about that. I'm not gonna repeat this slide, but so I think that Mr. Sandoval did a good job of outlining our priorities. And this is something that we came to in January. We had a board retreat, a office retreat, and we kind of culled through what were all the things we heard in the last year, both when I was sitting as the District 2 supervisor, but also when we were on the campaign trail, knocking on doors, talking to people. What were the most important issues to them? And I think in Newport, we all know that some of the most important issues are protecting our beautiful open spaces, our beaches, our parks, our harbor. It's also safety, community safety. We've seen a rise in burglaries and crimes here, not only just in Newport, but across Orange County. I attended a press conference with our DA recently where we've arrested 140 individuals who were tied to this operation. It was like an international operation of home invasions and burglaries. And so we are working on those in collaboration with the Orange County Sheriff's Department, all of our local law enforcement, Newport Beach, Costa Mesa, all the local police departments, and we are on it. I think that we're going to start to see some changes as it relates to these theft rings here soon. But then the other issue, of course, you all know, is the airport and how do we make sure that John Wayne Airport continues to be, as best we can, sensitive to. What do you want me to do? Is it? Okay, thanks. Thought you were telling me you can't hear me. This is Nick Annis, my chief of staff, keeping me, and I'm going to thank Nick because I'll take a moment here to thank Nick Annis and Stephanie Lau, who both were up extremely late last night, Mr. Rosansky, helping to prepare for this because they had 2 additional days to prepare for OCBC, but we cut that into 24 hours. So, and so these are their priorities. Okay, next, so priorities for Newport Beach. Speaking of the airport, one of the key initiatives for my office has been to initiate a fly-friendly program. And the fly-friendly program really targets our general aviation, small plane operators, and it also makes sure that those general aviation pilots know about the quietest flight out of John Wayne Airport. So for the past year, we've had a team of community members, of pilots, county airport staff, and a consultant that we hired to work on this project. And we've been collecting a baseline of data over the last year. We had a meeting recently. We're going to announce some of our findings here this month, but mainly what we have discovered is that most of the general aviation pilots do not know the best flight path so that it is the quietest. And the reason they don't know is that we don't have a good database so that we can communicate to all of them because they're coming in from all over. They don't live here in Newport Beach, most of them. So we are working to increase our database we have about 200 of the more than 800 pilots in our county airport database. So we have a project that is a follow-up to this initial announcement about the launch of the Fly Friendly is to outreach to the 600 more pilots so that we can continue to get their compliance. And what we're finding is that when they know, they do it, they fly. And we really can't touch the commercial. That is very restricted by the FAA rules. It's also touchy how we address the commercial because we could put at risk the settlement agreement that we have with the Newport Beach, the county, the John Wayne Airport. We don't want to put the settlement agreement at risk that has the curfews, the flight restrictions, etc. The County of Orange, I've learned over this last year, JWA Airport has the most restrictions of any airport in America. And this is a good thing for our community. It's hard for us, though, to advocate for more restrictions because the FAA says, okay, well, you have all these restrictions, no one else does. So we're continuing to pull all the levers, push all the buttons, do everything we can to make sure that we have the quietest, less polluting airport in America. And our fly-friendly program, I will say, in working with the consultants who work with airports across America, it is the only one of its kind in America to gather data and put it on a dashboard and incentivize general aviation pilots to fly a certain path that's the quietest over residential communities. Do we need to continue to do more work? Absolutely, and I'll continue to do that. I just had a meeting last week with the FAA I know that the city of Newport Beach has been outreaching and traveling to DC to advocate for this. There were a couple of hearings recently. The FAA is watching because they didn't like something I said in one of the articles about the upcoming hearings and the surveys, and so they called me to have a meeting with me to discuss it. So that's good news. We want them to be watching because we want them to know that we care. The airport is also undergoing, with our new director, who you've all heard from, Charlene Reynolds, a major deferred maintenance program. And what I love about Charlene is she's extremely transparent. You know, if you have a question, she will answer it, even if the answer isn't something that you want to hear. She's not duplicitous. You believe what she's saying because she comes with facts. If she doesn't know the answer, she'll let you know, and she'll go back and research it and get you the information. So I think we're in good hands moving forward with the airport. We just really need technology to catch up with our ideology about flights overhead, because once the technology catches up, we will start to see a reduction in the noise and the pollution. We also have been strong advocates for the sand replenishment programming. Of course, you know our work on preventing further oil spills and addressing and holding the operators of the oil rigs accountable, keeping our harbor safe. There's a lot of discussion that goes on in Newport about whether or not the sheriff has to operate the harbor in terms of the safety, and I'll tell you that the Sheriff's Department will continue to be in the harbor. It is a requirement of Homeland Security. The harbor contains areas that are, even though it's water, county tides, Newport tides, and federal waters. So we'll continue to be in the harbor. If anyone's telling you different, then they're just misleading you. So we also work tirelessly on the coastal erosion. We had recently, the Back Bay homes that were falling into the Back Bay due to the saturation impacts of what was torrential rains for our community that we weren't used to. And we have tried to help those homeowners. We were able to help them to get a reduction on their taxes, and in the case of the home that was demolished, a waiver of having to pay their taxes, because the property taxes, because their homes are gone and the value has plummeted. So we will do whatever we can as a county to assist those homeowners in trying to get reimbursed for the expenses, as well as, even though the city of Newport Beach didn't sign on to the declaration, thank you, Robin Grant, for your efforts. It doesn't really matter, because the county, under the new state law, the county is actually responsible for emergency declarations in Orange County, and so the county is still getting Newport Beach reimbursed for the expenses that were incurred for the landslide. Okay, we have been investing in our community here in Newport Beach. As Steve knows, we've given $100,000 to the chamber to try to help them with economic development, workforce development, supporting small businesses, programming, and then I just want to address again the homeless shelter issue. So I know there's a lot of discussion about who's responsible for the encampments that are right over here by the OCTA bus terminal. And if you go out there, you'll see that the OCTA bus terminal, within the property, there's no encampments. Okay, so the encampments are all on the sidewalk. They're on the edge of the sidewalk. Right now, there's a tent literally at the stop sign on the corner. And I have actually spoken directly to Judge Carter about what can be done and what is within the City of Newport Beach Police Department and your Community Resources Authority. And I really believe we need to do more aggressive enforcement of anti-camping. And whatever you need, I see Grace is here, City Manager, whatever you need in terms of help from my office to have access to the county shelters so that you can move people. We've been trying to tell people this. The county shelters are available. The Newport Costa Mesa shelter is open. And so just like in Costa Mesa, we can enforce our anti-camping ordinances because we have a shelter. Same is true here. So whatever we can do. I just got a report this morning from OCTA, and I know there's the board or the council voted to approve pickleball for that location. The problem is that pickleball, we can't do that. The bus terminal doesn't have ability to allow for pickleball there. So I think that we have to do a better job of collaborating to come up with solutions. So I know I'm not popular right now saying this by the city people, but I will tell you I am here to help. I just need us to work with facts. So Orange County Sheriff's Department does not patrol the streets. That is patrolled by Newport Beach City Police Department. And so what we're doing is trying to help you to understand that you can enforce the anti-camping. And whatever I can do to help provide county resources, we're here to serve. Let's talk about investments. We've invested a lot in Newport Beach over the last year. So we gave $500,000 to Hoag Hospital for a women's health initiative. We invested $150,000 for musical instruments for Newport Mesa Unified. That included a piano, as well as musical instruments throughout the whole district. The American Legion Post, we're helping them to make some ADA accessibility improvements at $200,000. One of my favorite what I think is very significant contributions is for the Shabbat Center for Jewish Life. We invested $250,000 to pay for buses so that students from all over Orange County can come to the Shabbat Center for Jewish Life and learn about the Holocaust Education Center programming and view the art gallery that they have there that really tells a story of the tragic situations that people endured. And so we're excited that students will start to be able to participate in that this year. Invested $100,000 for STEM education at Crystal Cove Conservancy. I mentioned the Newport Beach support for the chamber. And of course, we've supported all kinds of activities and events. In Newport specifically, we provided $70,000 in grocery gift cards to families that were living in Section 8 housing. Yes, you have Section 8 housing in Newport too. It's mostly seniors. And they live by the Back Bay, by the dunes rather, and then also there's some families that live, some senior living in Corona Del Mar. And so we were able to give those seniors grocery gift cards during a time when it was kind of tough for them to be able to get out. And then we planted 150 trees in our district. Of course, many of those were planted in Newport Beach at the Back Bay Center. We also have secured, my office directly has secured $12 million in funding from our Congress for supports for water quality improvement programs, and we are very excited about that, as well as a Dana Point Harbor breakwater. The water quality improvement programs will affect the whole county regionally, and then we help to secure additional funding from our U.S. senators and Congresswoman Young Kim for opioid prevention. And we all know, we've heard about the fentanyl crisis we're having here in Orange County and across the state of California. It's the #1 cause of death for 18 to 34-year-olds. We really must do more to help educate our community on the risks of recreational drugs and how fentanyl is everywhere. So don't do drugs. Okay, upcoming projects. Newport Beach, at TCA, we just approved an improvement project for the Austin Sand Filter Retrofit Project. Basically, that's just a basin that collects all of the runoff so that it doesn't go into the Back Bay, into the ocean. So that's right in Newport. We are getting ready to sign a new lease with the Boy Scouts of America for the Newport base, and they're gonna be making some major improvements to the base there for the sailing programs. They have some amazing programs for youth sailing. I loved getting to know the board members and learning about that project, and we also were able to encourage them to add an accessible lift out on one of the docks so that we can help support the sailing community who need accessibility. We also have coming more information to come, the Newport Dunes Resort and Marina project that is currently sort of in the proposal stage. As soon as we hear more about that, we'll be reporting out. And then the Santa Ana Delhi Channel and trail improvement, that's really going to help protect our bay. Lots of new improvements there, improvements that will help all the way down to the salt marsh, which is at the river jetty, and preventing trash, debris, and waste from going out into the oceans. And then other 5th District projects are, outlined here. It's a busy district. There's so many capital projects occurring in this district. And look, we're an economic driver, like I said. The 7-year capital improvement project list for this county is significant. And I want all of you, since you're business leaders, you're business owners, you need to know that our county open bid portal is open. Business is open in Orange County. We want you to sign up in the portal. We want you to bid on these county contracts. I would love to see the day when all the hundreds of contracts that I get to vote on every Tuesday are local Orange County bidders and not coming from Corona or Compton or Riverside or other places. So help us get the word out, send this link out. Maybe Steve, you could put it in your newsletter. It's a really valuable way to drive our local economy. If we have local contractors bidding on our county contracts. So we have contracts at John Wayne Airport that are coming forward, our parks departments, our libraries. We have 12 libraries in this district, and nearly half of them are going to be under construction in the next year. Tons of road projects, flood control, animal care. I mean, the business contracts that you can get with the county range from anything from embroidery to buying flags. I get my flags at Nikki's Flags in Newport, to fences, any number of services, graphic design, all the way to construction. So we really want to encourage you to get out and help us to spread the word. And then finally, you can contact our office. We have this, I have these great young staffers. We have 12 student college interns this summer working in our office, and so they keep me technologically savvy. So we have these, you can scan this QR code and they'll take you to all of our different social media, sign up for our newsletter. I encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. I encourage you to send us information to put in our newsletter because it goes out to more than 200,000 people, and we want to help amplify your events, your activities. We want to, send information about good works you're doing in the community. So that's all I have. I'm happy to take questions.
I haven't seen your newsletter.
We gotta get you started.
But we haven't seen, reports on OCTA and TCA for a long time. Phil Campbell used to put in his monthly newsletter a report on what the tolls were, what the income was. So all of a sudden, these huge potential cash generators are reported out to the public, and they can see what's going on.
I have reports every week in my newsletter, and whenever we have a TCA meeting or a OCTA meeting, we put a report and a link. So happy to get that information to you, and I would encourage you to sign up for my newsletter.
I will do that.
Yes.
I have a question about people experiencing homelessness. I heard you say that we have the ability to send them to the shelters, but I used to live in LA, and I know sometimes those who are experiencing mental health, they have a hard time with the shelters. So just in your experience, are there other opportunities?
Yeah, so Newport Beach has an excellent program of social workers. They have access to Be Well. They have a lot of really good individuals who are out every day talking to individuals experiencing homelessness. So I want to make sure that you all know that they're doing an excellent job on helping people to find resources. And they're helping people to get in, maybe move back home. They're helping people to find permanent supportive housing, recuperative care, treatment. And so that should continue to happen, and it will. The county has supplementary resources for that same effort, and we work tirelessly every single day. It takes almost like 20 contacts to get a person to trust an individual that is approaching them. And there's many, many reasons why people are homeless. It could be schizophrenic disorder, and that is something that we now are going to be able to have care court and be able to address, so that people are not just dying in the parks or on the sidewalks or at the county courthouse because they are unable to care for themselves. So we have that resource. We have ability for, we have people who are homeless because of maybe it's schizophrenia that is caused from drug addiction, and that is becoming a new issue that we're dealing with. We have people who are homeless because of drug addiction. The fentanyl crisis is real. Many people are dying on our streets because they had fentanyl poisoning. So we know that there are a segment of the individuals who are homeless who are drug addicted. I don't shy away from talking about that. I know that my friends who are advocates on supporting housing and homelessness, they hate when I talk about that. But we have to talk about reality. We can't pretend it's not happening. And then we have a growing population of what I will call invisible, I'm tired, invisible homeless. And those are many women over 60 is a growing population of homeless in our community. To me, that's just tragic, right? And it's in part because of the high cost of living. Maybe they lost a spouse who was the provider, and they don't have the funds to be able to live anymore. So they're sharing rooms, living in their cars. We have women living in their cars in Laguna Woods because they know it's a safe senior community. We have women living in their cars at cemeteries because they know it's safe. So we have to address all the different factors that contribute to homelessness, but I have a zero tolerance on allowing people to kind of impact the overall community. We have tools and resources to reduce the encampments.
Hi, my name is Shane Wood. We've met before.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you. I'm from a nonprofit, fentanylsolution.org. So I have a very vested interest in, first of all, I just want to say thank you for the work you've already done. To see somebody in your position even be willing to talk about it in such an open way has been really, really heartening. When my little brother died 6 years ago, it was amazing how little anybody knew about what fentanyl poisoning is. And we talk about drug addiction and the opioid crisis, which are incredibly impactful. But one of the areas in which I think that the community needs to be more aware is that 67% of fentanyl poisonings happen from accidental cross-contamination. So kids are getting what they think are Xanax or Adderall, things that people experiment with all the time, and then are finding 2 milligrams are enough to kill an adult human. So what can we do as a community, as a county, to more holistically deal with the issue? We need to there are test strips that are available that take almost no amount of the substance, less than 2 micrograms, in order to be able to see that it's there. We have naloxone that's available from the health department, but how do we get those to the individuals that need them?
Thank you for that question, and thank you for all the good work you're doing, and my condolences. I know that it's been a hard time for you. We, as a county board, unanimously have supported every bill that has come before the state legislature that relates to fentanyl. Every bill that relates to enhancing sentencing as it relates to fentanyl dealers that are killing our kids. Every bill that relates to notification. Senator Umberg had a bill that was about notification to the individuals that if they were found to have participated in a fentanyl death, that they could be charged with murder. We also have supported every bill that relates to test strips and getting more test strips out into the community. We actually are working to get naloxone out. The county board adopted a policy and we actually approved funding at the request of Chairman Wagner to fund naloxone to get out Narcan. It's the nasal spray that will basically reverse the effect of fentanyl. And so if you get to the person in time, you can save their life. I carry it in my car just in case. And yes, he has it. We're actually trying to get it out to all the schools. We're working with the school district superintendents, our healthcare agency, to make sure that the superintendents will support the nurses and the teachers having naloxone on campus. So we're working really hard. We're doing everything we can in all the different ways to address this, what is a real crisis. Robin?
Newport Beach, we're already implementing a program of educating and providing all of our police officers with Narcan, as well as our educational staff, and it's a very robust program already being.
Thank you. So Councilmember Grant, I don't know if everyone can hear what she said, but was saying that the city of Newport Beach is working with the police department, educating all their police officers, supplying them with Narcan, making sure there's robust education programming in the city of Newport Beach as it relates to this. So thank you for that effort. We all have to work together on this because it's scary. Any other questions? Yes?
Well, first of all, thank you for coming in this morning.
You're welcome.
And to your team. I know how hard that can be sometimes. Deadline gets pushed up, so thank you so much. I have a pretty just human question, is what motivates you to help and serve the community?
Oh, that's nice. I always, when I say this, I always feel like people think it's silly, but I love helping people. I mean, it's kind of who I am. I didn't realize that's who I am as much as I know that now as a county supervisor. So 8th grade, I was awarded most school service. At the time, I was a cheerleader. All my friends were getting like best hair, cutest outfits, whatever. And it wasn't something I was very proud of at that time. In retrospect, I see that is part of my DNA, is to serve. And I think it comes from, I struggled as a young person. We had a very dysfunctional family. My mom didn't make great choices for husbands, and so I had to live with an abusive stepfather. So I poured myself into the community at school, and it pretty much saved my life by being active in school activities and ballet and getting out of our house. We went to six elementary schools, a junior high, and 2 high schools. And so I really feel that I'm living the American dream. I'm living the American dream because I had so many people who believed in me, public school educators who cared about me and saw my potential, college professors who knew I would be a great lawyer and saw my potential, and then just a safety net of community groups and government benefits, Head Start, school lunch, Pell Grants. So I just feel that it's so important to me to give back to the community. That really helped me to become what I think is very successful. So, and then, it's my job to lift up the next generation. I try to do that. And then I married a school teacher too. So, any other questions? Oh, yes.
So, well, thank you again for coming. I didn't get dressed up this morning. So what I want to just speak about real quickly is we talked about the homeless piece, and I hear a lot of tactical ways to address it, and I haven't really heard a strategy. So, and let me kind of support what I'm saying. First of all, in this city, when you talk about naloxone, Narcan, whatever, when you talk about medical emergencies, it's not a thing. There's a lot of different stuff that can go on. So I would say priority 1 is dial 911, because we don't know what causes could be a lot of different things, diabetic issues, breathing issues, whatever. That's priority one. But also, folks that are homeless, there's a large population of the military folks that are homeless. Related, you pointed out many of the issues. And in this city, the city's got so many different nooks and crannies that touch unincorporated county boards like Ladera Ranch. Parts of the city are over near the west side of Costa Mesa. And I don't really see a whole strategy to deal with, because they talk about homeless folks here. And they say, oh, we got 64, 65. There are hundreds of homeless people that one minute they're in Newport Beach, the next minute they step out, they're not in it. And I don't really hear a strategy. I know there's the Costa Mesa shelter and all that stuff, but I just mention that as something to at least consider when you're thinking about how to.
Thank you. We do have a strategy, and so we're not doing a good job of communicating it, so thank you for raising that. The county invests $1.8 billion annually. We have a strategy that is focused on sheltering the unhoused, trying to open shelters in all of the different, we call them spas. There's a central spa service planning area, and North Spa and South Spa. Right now, the South Spa, which Newport and Costa Mesa are now included in this, it's weird. Newport's in the South Spa, but Costa Mesa's in the Central Spa because these were all created before the new districts were created. So in the South County Spa, we don't have a robust shelter system. We have one shelter in Laguna Beach. So we're trying to build shelters in all of the spa areas. And the reason for that is so that we can then work on addressing the ancillary impacts of people experiencing homelessness, the encampments and whatnot. Now, in addition to that, we are trying to build out 2,900 permanent supportive housing units across Orange County. That takes a little more time. We've participated in Costa Mesa, Stanton, Buena Park, and Anaheim, and Huntington Beach in converting motels into permanent supportive housing. That's the fastest way we can get more housing units online, because the requirement from the state funding is you have to get it built in 1 year. So that's part of our strategy, more permanent supportive housing. And speaking of veterans, that permanent supportive housing will directly impact mostly veterans, because that's the target for the permanent supportive housing. Kitchenettes, wraparound services, veteran services, trying to help them to stay stabilized and housed permanently. So that's part of our veteran strategy. Additionally, we have a whole system of care that we've stood up that is about mental wellness, mobile response, medical response, street medicine. We also are trying to stand up a system of care as it relates to helping to people to get reemployed, job trainings. We have a program at the county that no one really knows about because no one ever uses it, where employers can hire veterans and we'll pay the wages for 3 months to get them trained up in your employment. So we have a whole system that's anything from housing, mental health services, physical health services, permanent supportive housing, job training, jobs, as well as building housing that is appropriate for maybe people who aren't homeless but are maybe on the verge of homeless, as well as our suicide prevention programs for veterans I talked about earlier. So we are working right now on a kind of a video, and this will be showcased at the July 19th Newport Beach Chamber State of the County address. A little pitch for that. That will showcase the work that we've done over the last 5 years across Orange County and see how far we've come. So I know it's hard because we talk about people as one person, or there's 290 veterans, but know this, to me, it's very personal. My brother is an Army veteran. He suffers severely from PTSD, and he every day I whatever I do to try to help veterans is coming through the lens of what am I doing to help my brother? It's hard. It's very hard work. And I really am grateful for those in our communities. The American Legion has some really wonderful programs here in Newport Beach. And I'm just truly grateful for those who are sticking with our veterans and helping them to come back to civilian life and to have a better life when they, overcome some of the struggles. But love to have your suggestions, input. It's a priority for my office, and it'll continue to be a priority for me for as long as I live. Thank you. All right, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you letting us hear. We also hopefully will be back in the fall to talk about our master plan for aging and get your input on how do we prepare for aging Orange County, which, we're all not getting any younger.
Thank you, Supervisor. A quick side note, UCI is very dear to the supervisor because she was married on campus.
Almost 32 years ago.
Thanks for coming today. Thanks for sharing what's going on in the county. To close us out, let's hear from Steve again.
That was a great talk. Thank you, Katrina, and thank you to your staff for putting that together. I feel bad that they had to work late at night, but we offered to serve them breakfast this morning, so buy them breakfast. I do want to mention that our city manager, Grace Leung, joined us, so thank you for coming, Grace. And he left, but Paul Watkins was here. He's chair of the Library Board of Trustees. So we've got, if you enjoyed today, interacting with the chamber, we have a number of events coming up in the next month. Next week is our Inspire Women in Business Luncheon. Katrina mentioned the airport director, Charlene Reynolds. She will be our speaker there. It's a great meeting, and it's going to be, 5 crowns? Yes. 5 crowns. Our networking luncheon is going to be at Guacamigos on June 14th. All this is on our website, so you don't have to write anything down. Our chamber mixer is going to be at Gracias Madre Restaurant on Westcliff, over there by the Westcliff Shopping Center, June 22nd. Our first barbecue on the patio. Actually, it should be barbecue by the lake. I don't know, it says patio here. June 30th. It's at our office for our chamber members. Come and have a burger and maybe a glass of wine, and we're going to do some fun things this year too with that, so look for that flyer. And next month, our Wake Up Newport meeting will be here at July 6th. Don't have the speaker yet, but we'll have a great one just like we did today. And as the supervisor mentioned, July 19th, our very first annual State of the County luncheon will be held at the Balboa Bay Resort. And so Supervisor Foley will be a speaker. We'll also be having the chair of the Board of Supervisors, Don Wagner, and the county CEO, Frank Kim, speaking. It's going to be a great event, and we'll get the bigger picture here in Orange County. So again, all that's at our website, newportbeach.com. If you're not a chamber member, you should be. Thank you for coming. Have a great rest of your week.